So we're not all in the same boat. You know, this whole idea that you know, American society is experiencing a crisis and we're all in the same boat, we all have to pull together and work our way out of it somehow. This is, I consider these notions to be utterly preposterous. There are some people who are extremely well off in the current economy. They've been doing very, very well for a really long time. They seem to continue to be doing very well. And then there are people who are suffering. Some of them have been suffering for generations, and some of them are newly suffering. But it's simply not the case that the situations of all people are the same, and we all need to pull together. What we need, rather than all pulling together, which I think leads us down a dead end, is a good deal of class consciousness and class struggle. People need to understand that their interests are dramatically different from the people who own and run America, and they have to organize on the basis of their class interests and act.
As you all heard, Dr. Chorbajian outlined a lot of the issues of poverty, issues of living standards, inequality, political power that come as a result of the economic system, especially a free market system that tends to put profit ahead of other values and other considerations in society. The question then is, as he alluded to at the end, was organizing and having consciousness of these issues and what to do against them. On this topic, we're hoping our next speaker, Dr. Khatchig can shed some light on what's happened in Latin America and maybe some examples we can take from there. The topic of his talk is anti-capitalist intervention for alternative solutions, the Latin American experience. Before he goes on to give his presentation, I just want to, give one food for thought. When you look at Latin America, there's actually a lot of similarities with former Soviet countries, both regions having a recent past of autocratic regimes, dictatorial regimes, non-democratic regimes, and suddenly transitioning to more free market, democratic regimes, and both regions experiencing things like high levels of debt, high levels of inequality, corruption. So I think it's really worth taking note, especially those concerned with Armenia and the situation there, what examples we can learn from there. So, Dr. Ghoghassian, if you're with us, you can go ahead and take it away.
Yes, thank you, Serouj. It was very interesting to listen to Dr. Chorbajian once again. Good morning, everyone, and I'm really sorry for not being there physically and causing all this trouble, but circumstances did not permit me, did not allow me to travel this time. I will be speaking about the Latin American experience, but let me first tell you that while certainly Latin America does make sense culturally, when we think about the Latin Americans geopolitically, we have first Mexico, which is part of North America, then Central America, and then there is South America. Now, within the context of the post-Cold War and from a geostrategic perspective, both Mexico and Central America are part of what we can call the U.S. security complex. They are within the frame of the strategic frame of the United States. And then we have the most turbulent region, conflictive region, that is the Andean region, Peru, Colombia, Ecuador, Bolivia, and also Venezuela with Hugo Chavez. That is where mostly the conflict is still going on, basically because of the so-called war on the drugs. And then finally we have the southern cone, Argentina, Brazil, Chile, Uruguay, and Paraguay, which traditionally has been and is a zone of peace. And we call a zone of peace because of the very low quantity of wars, the interstate wars in this part of the world. Now, I make this first introduction just to tell you that I'll be speaking mostly about South America. I will be speaking about the South American experience, although I will mention from time to time Central America, but especially Mexico. Now, let me say that in general, South American countries did relatively well, are doing relatively well within this crisis. Now, this doesn't mean that South America will be doing in the future, because we really don't know where this crisis is leading to the world, and we don't know what will be the next year. Now, everyone is very happy that the crisis is coming to an end. I'm not so sure about that. But anyhow, if the South American countries did well during this crisis, it is because if by crisis we understand the crisis of the neoliberal globalization, the end of the crisis, or the beginning of the crisis, if you want, for South America, goes back to 1999-2001. In 1999, the Washington Consensus, the famous 10 commandments of the neoliberal globalization, which was sort of imposed to Latin America, came to an end. There was no big illusions about what the neoliberal globalization will bring to these countries. In 1999, Brazil, the most important Latin American economy, had already devaluated its money, and especially in 2001, the Argentine economy collapsed. Argentina, along with Mexico, has been one of the Latin American countries that implemented the Washington Consensus in its most orthodox way. And it was known as the poster child of the neoliberal globalization, where the Argentine economy collapsed in 2001 and 2002. Those were terrible, terrible years. But the most important observation that one can make in the case of Argentina is that despite the whole the economy, there was no chaos. After 2 years, the Argentine economy started to grow again, and there was a renewal from 2003 up until 2007, 2008. Of course, when we are talking about the crisis in Latin America, there is one antecedent, and that is in 1994, the Mexican economic collapse. But this was not, this is interesting, this was not perceived as a sign that, as a signal that the neoliberal globalization is not really doing well. The countries went along with the Washington Consensus up until, as I said, 2001 and 2002. And how did the South American countries came out from the crisis? Well, from 2003 and on, we see a new phenomenon in South America, and that new phenomenon is conceptualized as the left turn. Of course, here also we have an antecedent, and that antecedent is the election of Hugo Chavez in 1998 in Venezuela. But from 2003 on, center-left and left political parties and political forces came to power through elections, democratically, not through a revolutionary struggle, in practically all the South American countries. And that is Chile, where we have a continuity of the Socialist Party in power. In Argentina, with the first Kirchner and now Cristina government. In Brazil, with de Frente Amplio. In Bolivia, with Evo Morales. In Paraguay, with Fernando Lugo. Of course, Venezuela, but also some Central American countries, like Nicaragua with Daniel Ortega, and lately El Salvador. Almost Mexico was about to be part of this overall left turn in Latin America in 2005, and the difference of votes between the leftist candidate and the current president was really nothing, and there was, suspicious that doubts that the elections were clean. But while Mexico did not enter this wave of left turn of Latin America,